Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of That Real Estate Tech Guy. I'm your host, Jordan Samuel Fleming, and I'm joined today by my good friend, Brian Waters from the Rental Property Playbook. Now, Brian's got a great story. Brian was a pilot, professional airline pilot, and then moved on to being a fire captain, a fire captain. Still is a certified flight instructor and became a real estate investor focused on single family rental properties, and now has an amazing community and teaching program helping others do it. I mean, talk about your balance, your balanced approach. I love that about Brian because he really does have a balance in his life and the way he approaches things, which gives him a lot of flexibility, lets him do some of the things he loves: teaching, flying, being in the firehouse, building a great life for his family, right? Like traveling, vacationing. Uh, it's refreshing, to be honest, and it's great because this episode's really fun because it focuses on a specific, Brian has a very specific niche that he kind of goes down deep on, and that is, out of state rental properties. And I think a lot of people probably would think, man, that's going to be hard. And Brian kind of he rolls back the misconceptions a little on that, and that's what he's doing in his community. Anyway, it was a super fun conversation. Brian and I met up in person in Orlando a month and a half ago, when a whole bunch of people in the community and coaches and technology companies and got together, and we had a great conversation, got to know each other a little, and really have enjoyed getting to know him. You're going to love this episode. It's really great to see how Brian approaches his education, the community he's built, and just how focused he is on helping people understand the possibilities of out-of-state rentals. So, without further ado, join me in my conversation with Brian Waters. And I'm live with my friend Brian Waters. Brian, great to have you here. Introduce yourself and what you do to the audience.
Yeah, Jordan, thank you so much for having me. First off, I want to tell everyone that this is the real Brian and not the AI version of Brian. I know Jordan's big on the AI stuff, but yeah, I'm a fire captain out in Los Angeles, and I'm also a real estate investor and a real estate coach with this company here. It's called the Rental Property Playbook. I'm teaching hardworking W-2 earners all over the country how to buy properties not where they live, out of state, unseen, and not quitting their jobs, just creating a second source of income so they can hang out with their families, do cool stuff, travel, and just have that little bit of financial security outside of their normal job.
Fantastic. Now, you're a fire captain, but you're also a CFI, correct?
Yes, sir. When I was 18, I got my pilot's license. All I ever wanted to do was fly. I grew up with a mom who was a flight attendant for United. I loved the traveling. I watched Catch Me If You Can, and I'm like, that looks like the life for me. And so I moved out to Hawaii, and I became a medevac pilot, and continued to do flight instruction out there. I got hired with the airlines. The airlines had a big kind of falling out during the 2008 stuff, and I actually got laid off, and I became a fireman. And so I still teach people to fly. I still fly on my own. My dream here is to buy my plane in the next 5 years, but yeah, I kind of do a little bit of everything. So,
Well, that excites me because I'm in the middle of my PPL right now. So
oh,
I'm literally in the middle of the thick of it right now. So anytime I'm such a geek that I can't stop talking about aviation, and we're not gonna turn this into that aviation tech guy podcast. But that's a conversation next time we see each other. Well, that I'm sure we can have.
absolutely. I think it was funny when I was 18, I never was really, I liked school, but I didn't love it. The first time I opened up a book on flying and aerodynamics and weather patterns, I was like, I couldn't put it down. And it's, there's a saying that says like once you've tasted aviation, like you'll never go back. It's going to be part of you forever. It's so much fun.
Yeah, and just to your point, before we leave this topic, the amount of knowledge you need, like flying a plane is relatively easy.
Oh yeah.
Like the physicality of flying a plane, and like once you get used to it, even people like landing, whatever, whatever. It's not that hard, but the knowledge you need and the rigorousness of approach and the situational aware it's all everything else is what makes really the kind of flying a quite a complex thing.
Absolutely. I think I have a couple pilots that are in my program, and they're the best ones because they just they're just really smart. You know, it's such a step by step checklist type of job that because if you veer from that, you could die. And so I kind of teach people in that. I always hold on to that pilot way of doing things, SOPs, checklist, itemized things. I run my business the same way, and it makes sense. That's why if you go back to like uh, the CRM stuff, you know, crew resource management, in every business, they go back and they actually show you videos of like airplane crashes and what went wrong, and it's wild. So there's a lot of correlation between that.
Well, and you pilot then firefighter, and I would imagine the same rigorousness of approach and discipline actually has to be in the firefighting game as well, because that's another like make lots of mistakes and either you get killed or someone else gets killed. So there's seems to be a theme to your approach to things.
Yeah, and I think that theme is a type A personality, to be honest. You know, I, I'm definitely have that personality to do it, but you are 100% correct. And, you know, a lot of the people I teach in real estate, in which I firmly believe that a lot of these first responders, they're meant to do this type of stuff because they already have the hardest job in the world. We, as firefighters, we solve people's problems. When someone calls us, they don't know how to do something, whether it's medically related, emergency related, they're going, send help. And we don't know what we need to do till we get there, but we use our resources, we've figured out. We can't just what we call parade rest. We can't just stand there and go, nope, sorry, I don't know it. So the most successful people that I teach are in that world, and they come into real estate and they're like, this is pretty easy, Brian. I could do this for sure. You know, and it is. It's true. It's so easy a fireman can do it. That's my saying.
So obviously so we got the pilots, we got the fire captain. You worked your way up in that line. Now when you're a great example of someone who got into real estate. Um, that got into real estate from other careers that where you really kind of and you didn't necessarily just jump in and ignore the other careers. You added real estate as a strand to your life and as a passive income to your life, as opposed to a lot of times you meet investors, you speak to people, or I speak to people on the podcast, and they have kind of made the switch and been like, I wanted to leave the W-2, I wanted to leave everything behind, and now I'm over here. What I'm hearing from you is actually kind of a story that I don't get as much, which is, man, I got these other things that I love, and it's been additive, where it is now like I've added that part of my life and probably created an even greater ability for me to create income, passive income, assets from me, but I haven't I haven't cut out everything else. Is that accurate?
Yeah, 100%. And I think I have a couple thoughts on this. I think a lot of people. So let's be very clear. When you become a real estate investor, like full time, or a real estate coach, that is a job. That's a full time job, right? And so I think when people are leaving their other industries, they're not enjoying what they're doing. And I admire the courage they have to actually acknowledge that and then leave. But for the reality for me is I actually love my job. I I wake up at 4:30 to drive into the fire station, and I'm like, there's a bunch of for lack of better terms, just a bunch of kids that go to work, a bunch of little boys and girls, right? We're just like, it's so much fun. We goof around. I'm blessed to be able to help the community, but I look forward to it. And so, you're going to hear a lot of people on social media, buy one property, quit your job. That's just not the reality. So you're either going to use this as a supplement to your income, which I'm doing, and I'll explain why in a second, or you're going to leave your job full time to go do this full time. There is no work 1 hour a week and be rich unless you got something. If there is, tell me about it. I'd love.
If there is, right? That if you're very lucky or with a very rich father and mother. I have that's basically it. But I think this is a really before we dive into like I want to dive into to how you're doing it next, but I do think it's important to point out because so many times on the podcast and other podcasts, the narrative is exactly what you said. I left the W2 behind. Thank God I was looking for a way out. And I think it's important sometimes to have the other narrative of, hey man, like this can just be additive. This can just be an amazing way of adding financial security, opportunity. And it doesn't mean that you don't have other things you're doing and that you love. And that's not a narrative we hear a lot. And I think that's a really cool one that you bring up. And it's worth sort of kind of highlighting that.
Yeah, thank you. I think why I personally think it's important not to quit your job. I'm literally telling people stay. I don't care if even if you don't like your job, don't quit because number one, people will also say you don't need any money to invest in real estate, and that is a false statement. Yes, there's ways to do it creatively and whatnot, but the reality of it is you're going to be laying in bed all night, like with your head on the pillow, freaking out that you're not going to have one issue. So a couple things: your W-2 job is going to make you lendable to banks. They always ask for your W-2, and they're going to go, "Wow, Brian does pretty well as a fireman. I want to give him my money to go do projects." So there's number one. Number two, you're one roof leak or a foundation problem away from bankrupting your entire family. So for me, the ability to fund stuff that comes up, because real estate's not all roses and rainbows. There will be stuff that comes up. Um, and I show people how to mitigate those or kind of stay away from them if you can. But when they do, like I have got a call from my contractor today that they need to put this little French drain in my yard. It's going to cost me about $1,000. If I didn't have another job to pay for that, I would be hurting. So I think it's important you keep it for that reason. It's a risk mitigator, but it's also makes you have leverage through lending. And then let's just also say, because I am type A and I bounce around like a squirrel to different things, maybe 5 years from now, I'm like, you know what? I don't like real estate anymore, but I have that job that I love to fall back on. So it's not a an or situation. It's a and or. Like you can have your cake and eat it too.
And that's the bit that I love because it just we don't. I just think that's really cool to call out because so many times the narrative is it's always the or. Oh, thank God I'm moving away. Now I'm finally doing this full time. Oh, I could finally quit. And the truth is you're a CFI. You're still teaching people that you're a fire captain. You're doing that, and you've built your family an ability to have freedom and to be able to do all these things by adding in real estate, and that's really cool. But let's go to what when you started and what you're doing right now. And obviously you're doing it for yourself and you're teaching it. Where's your main focus right now?
So my main focus was, I mean, I'll be a little selfish with this answer, but I initially got into real estate because I got hired as a young pilot, and at 33 I got laid off, and I was like in full panic mode. I was married, had no kids, and truthfully I'm kind of glad I did. That lifestyle was very hard. You're traveling a lot. I know you travel a lot. It's very hard on your body and your family. And next time you're in the airport, look at the pilots. They're walking around with hunchbacks and their shirts are untucked. They look unhealthy. So that it was a blessing in disguise. I always say that getting laid off was the best thing that happened to me. So when I got hired at the fire department at 33, I'm very lucky to have a good job, a good pension. But in order to get the maximize your full potential with your retirement, you have to work for 30 years. So I'm looking at my future self going, Brian, I don't think you're going to last 30 years. Number one, it's a very physical job. It's a very mentally strained job. We have a lot of mental health problems because of what we see every day. It's stuff that no one should ever see. And so I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to go the whole time. And then there's also what I call the overtime trap, because we have the ability to work so much extra overtime. It's like the shiny object that people that guys and girls in my department, they they work so much that they end up having divorces. They're not around their kids. I wanted a lifestyle where I coach my kids' tackle football team, and I have for 5 years. I could still teach flying. I can vacation a lot. So um, I selfishly got into real estate on my own to be able to have a source of income. And then what happened was all my nosy buddies and my friends wanted, and I joke when I say I love you guys, but they all wanted to learn how to do it. And it kind of morphed organically into me teaching it. As a flight instructor and a son of a teacher, I loved teaching. And probably the most important thing I'll say here is I I was not perfect in my younger years. I'm sure me and you've had some offline talks about this funny stuff we've done in our youth, right? Well, guess what? Most young men make dumb financial choices. So I'm trying to capture the younger version of me in their 20s, so I can just grab them by whatever and go, guess what? Here are these options, and I'm starting to see a lot of results with that. One of my 27-year-old paramedics just bought his fifth house, and he's 27. He's not even married yet. That guy is gonna crush it. So it was a little bit about me and my financial future, and then once I started to learn it, now I love giving that back to. It doesn't have to be firemen. I teach all types of people, but it's so cool to watch. Like I really am passionate about the mentor thing. I don't just use that word lightly. Like I love to see that action steps being taken. So it's pretty cool.
Now, I'm sorry to interrupt this amazing conversation, but I wanted to make sure you knew that Smartphone, the only phone system built for real estate investors, connects to the best-in-class real estate investment CRMs. And because, as it's my show and I am co-founder and chairman of Smartphone, I got some great deals for you. Click the link, take advantage of 5,000 minutes free calling with Smartphone, the only phone system built for real estate investors. Click and call. Close more leads. Back to the show.
Well, so you zeroed in on obviously the rental property, because there's lots of strategies out there. You zeroed in on that. So what was it that first took you into, into zeroing in on that, as opposed to say, like a wholesaling deal, wholesaling where you were gonna make a $20,000, $30,000 assignment fee. What is it that made you choose that, and how did you get started in that kind of strategy?
Yeah, I think an important conversation about that is there's a million ways to do things, right? I mean, you mentioned it. You could wholesale. You can go buy land and flip it. You could there's syndications. There's all types of stuff. But when I looked at all that stuff, I think it was a little daunting. Number one, um, I I didn't want to create a full second time job for my or full time job for myself. So what I looked at is like, what is the most tried and true thing out there? It's what's the most like least risky? What's the most boring that I could do with my income that I don't have to create all that extra work for me? And so um, I had a mentor early on say, you're gonna get distracted along the way. He goes, get very very hyper specifically good at one thing, and once that one thing works, don't change it. So what I decided to do is I just figured, I didn't really know this until later, but I mean the most common purchased, sold, lived in, rented is thing in the country is not an apartment complex. It's not a duplex. It's not an RV park. It's not this. It's a single family dwelling, right? I think of in terms of exit strategies as a fireman. I want to be able to get out of the building if I need to, right? So for me, the most rented thing is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. The most purchased. You could I could sell it to an investor. I could sell it to a guy coming up with his family. I could refinance it. There's so many things I could do for it. So what I decided to do is just get really good at that and just scale. And by scale, just get better each time. So I only do single family dwellings. I want that ownership for me. I don't partner with people. My wife, Yvonne, and we own it outright. So we have the ability to be the puppet master of my portfolio per se, right? So that's
Now,
what I do.
and let me ask, so because it's funny. Recently, I've had on a couple people who are involved in the self-storage game,
Yeah.
which is a very a really interesting model and strategy. But I remember, and you and I both know Bree,
Oh,
Bree Hart. We both know
oh,
Bree.
she's fantastic. I love
She's awesome. Yeah, she's phenomenal. When we were all together in Orlando, we had dinner in a group with Bree and I, and we had some of the most amazing food. Were you at that dinner? Like we had the most
her.
amazing food,
Yeah.
and had a great chat. But Bree, one of the things Bree said was what she loves about self storage is obviously the no tenants, no toilets, right? And the idea of the hassle. So talk to me a little bit, like when you decided to go down that rental side of things, you are immediately engaging in people who potentially are going to cause you problems, whether that is through occasionally maybe getting the wrong tenant in who does something that you don't like to the property, or just like the 2 a.m. phone call because the toilets overflowing and leaking. You know, what is your kind of thoughts on that? How have you kind of built a structure on that? And what do you say to people who want to get started about that need to have tenants and engage with them?
Yeah. So first and foremost, you know, I'd hopefully this didn't come off like I'm crapping on anyone else's business plan. I think like for Bree, she is hyper specifically focused on storage, and I joke because I call her the storage queen. So she is really good at that. So she's not varying in her industry either, which kudos to that, right? But in the argument against tenants and toilets, I specifically decided, and it's working for my community, is to go and do out of state rental properties. I live in California. I invest in Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, Tennessee, all over the country. But it sounds risky, but it actually helps me not have to deal with that stuff. So systematically, I have built a team of real estate agent, title contractors, the insurance companies, and most importantly, a very, very solid property management team. Okay, so two things. Out of state allows me to do one thing. I If my toilet breaks, I can't drive over there. Brian is I could do a lot of stuff, and breaking stuff is what I'm good at, right? So I'm not going to fix a toilet. No, I don't want to, and I'm not good at it. So the fact that it's far enough away from me, I'm not tempted to drive over to it and be like, "Hey, today's my day off. I have football practice an hour. Let me get over there and see what I could do," because that's not a passive business. That's a full-time gig. So by having the right systems and teams in place, here's the thing. I don't care what you own. I don't care if it's storage. I don't care if it's an RV park. Stuff is going to break. You can call it a tenant and a toilet, or you can call it a roll-up door and a sprinkler system. There's always going to be problems in the business. It's how do you handle and mitigate them. So what we do is when we underwrite the project, we make sure we're putting money away for those things, vacancies, maintenance items, that because it's not if, it's when. I'm very honest with my clients. No matter what you're in, I don't care if you have a brand new Tesla, you're going to have to fix something on it at some point. It's just, that's just inevitable, right? So I have my property management team on the ground that handles the stuff. I usually won't even know about it until after the fact, because I say, miss me with it until it's done. So I'll be skiing or with my kids, and then a month later when I get the bill, it's like, oh, I had a toilet. So, okay, cool. Thanks, tenant, for helping me pay for that. The more you scale and the more properties you get, you can kind of rob Peter to pay Paul and have all that money pooling around to fix stuff. So I've never fixed a toilet in my life. I've never done drywall in my life. Yes, it happens and it will continue to happen. But, I guess the last thing I'll say to this is there's going to be stuff that comes up, but guess what? Real estate wins in multiple ways. It wins with the cash flow, the tax benefits, the principal pay down, and the appreciation. So at any given time, back to being a pilot and a fireman, I'm winning. I call it 4 pillars. If one of my pillars gets knocked down, I could stand up again because I'm having something happen. So that's my perspective on it.
Fantastic. And let me ask, because and this is particularly, given that you teach people this, and I love the idea. Like you mentioned, you've got one of your EMT buddies just bought his 5th house, I think. So I think there's a perception sometimes that buy and hold, for want of a better term, is the you have to get there, right? Like there's this assumption that the step ladder of investing is you start with wholesaling and then maybe you do a fix and flip, and if that goes well, maybe you then identify the properties to buy and hold. It feels like a ladder sometimes. Of course it's not. Of course it's nonsense. But it does feel like a ladder sometimes, and a lot of coaches, now maybe it's because they're wholesaling coaches, kind of teach it like that. Um, if you've got someone in your community and in your program, um, is it suitable for people who aren't in real estate at all? Is there some element of knowledge? And if someone already is a wholesaler, are they going to also be able to benefit as well? Who kind of fits into how your community teaches?
Yeah, so I can't speak a ton about wholesaling, but the one thing that scares me about it, and this is why if you're going to wholesale, I'd recommend even within our community, there's some really great wholesale coaches. Like make sure you're learning from them. But the one thing that scares me about wholesaling is once you lock up that one deal and then you get paid, that's it. You got to start working on the next one. So you're jumping from payday to payday, and you're kind of this. So talk about not being able to sleep all at night. That scares me, right? So, um, so for me, yeah, it's a natural progression for them to learn that. But the rentals are going to pay you forever, right? And here's a perfect example. I bought a rental property 4 years ago. I came up with a down payment for it. In 4 years later, it appreciated so much, it got paid down so much. I just refied it tax free, on my refinance to buy my first Airbnb. So there's no way I could have saved the money for that. It would have been impossible without jeopardizing my family life and working an extra job. So that rental became the catalyst to buy me my next one and next one and next one. So um, there's just different ways to do it. So I teach a couple things. Number one, most important, again, we talked about don't quit your job. Utilize the money that you're saving in your job. I actually liquidated my old 401k from my pilot days to be able to take that money and start buying properties with it. But one of the methods, and everyone listening to this, they probably have heard of the BRRRR method, right? The buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. Again, I'm not going to tell you don't have to have any money. You do, but it's a lot less than you would imagine. And if you know the right process, like I'm buying 4 properties at a time, using private money, using hard money, and at the end game, these properties may cost me $5,000 or 10 or maybe nothing. So it's pretty cool. You just have to understand you're not just going to throw a dart at a property and it's going to work. You really have to understand how to analyze it. That's very key.
Fantastic. Now, when you got into, obviously you've got a background. You said I think you're the son of teachers, or at least a teacher. You're a CFI, so teaching is in your blood. What made when did you take the leap from doing this to you said your buddies kind of wanted to find out how can they do it. What point did you kind of decide to formalize it into like an actual, not just I'm helping my buddies and I'm teaching my buddies, but I actually am built a very valuable training course and community and a way that people can engage, learn, and continue to benefit, be held accountable, and work within a community. Well, when did you make the decision? What drove you to that decision? And was there uh I guess, was there any, I don't want to say hesitation because that's not the right word, but like uh did you worry that that would take too much focus versus other parts of your life versus your own real estate investing business?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the first sign that I knew I wanted to do it was when I did have a couple of friends reach out and I was teaching them. But for me, um, I need checklists in my life. I need SOPs. I literally most entrepreneurs, they have what I call the squirrel brain, where like like, oh, squirrel, like, So for me, as I was scaling my portfolio, I was organizing things for myself. So I was organizing literally a pre-approval checklist and like all this type of stuff that just like a pilot has a checklist. So I was utilizing that stuff, and I was like, man, this is kind of cool. And the very first time that I introduced this stuff to my friends, and one of them bought one, I'm like, that's pretty cool. And then, well, what happened was, and these people weren't taking advantage of me. Uh, they wanted to learn it, and so I was starting to do it a lot. And this is where when you have a very amazing partner or wife in your life, that they kind of sometimes tell you something and you're like, oh, that makes sense. So I was spending so much time away from the family teaching, and I was doing it for free. And she goes, Brian, I love you, buddy, but you're taking all this time to do it. You've created this system. You've spent tons of money through coaches. I still pay a lot of money for coaches, and I think it's important. You need to start charging for this. And I was like, okay. I'm like, but I had that imposter syndrome. Like, I don't think I'm qualified. I don't think, I knew what I had to teach was worthwhile, but then I just said, you know what? I'm going to do it. And then what I noticed is the community started growing like organically very quickly, because people would get in there, they'd get a win, they would tell a friend, and I'm like, you know what, maybe I am meant to do this. And then what I did is I actually fell in love with the actual process, to the point where I love this so much that Jordan and I, what day is it? It's a Thursday at 11 o'clock my time. And me and you are geeking out on real estate because I love it. I love connecting. And it was cool to see those early wins. And once I saw those wins for some of my clients, I'm like, I have to do this. I just have to. And I continue building my portfolio alongside them. So I'm in the trenches. So it's helping me and my family. It's helping them. And it's like, okay, I'm going to do this for as long as Brian can, and then I'll move on if I need to. But I love it. It's so much fun. So
You got a
yeah.
you got a really interesting balance. I think you've got a better balance, or at least certainly it appears that way. But you've got a better balance in than a lot of people I speak to in this space who are like people who are obsessively growing their coaching business, or and kind of focused on that, or obsessively trying to build their real estate business, or it's very tunnel vision, a lot of people. And some people say that's what you need as an entrepreneur. I actually never have believed that, because I have everything I do, and I do a lot. I do woodworking, I do I'm learning to fly. I an ex musician. Like I all these things enrich my life and make me better at every bit of it. So that tunnel vision has never infected me. But you, I think, are a great example of how having that slightly broader look and those multiple strands of what you're doing actually gives you a balance and an ability an ability either to have the perspective, but also to not be burnt out on anyone either. Because sometimes I will look at real estate investors who are like this, and they're hanging like the pilots you talked about, right? Like they're hanging like that, or the coaches who are stressing out of this and they're hanging like that. I think, do you think that, am I projecting too much on that, or do you feel like that having those multiple strands gives you a certain balance that maybe that other people could probably benefit from?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked that, because that's been a battle mentally for me recently, because I'm have the opportunity to take this to different levels. And when I was in Orlando with you, I was sitting in the room and I'm surrounded by these amazing people. I mean, like you being one of them, it's very, very inspiring to some of the things. But the common theme that I started to notice, and I actually had a one-on-one with someone, and they said something which was very complimentary to me, but it like kind of like brought me back to earth a little bit. They said, Brian, I would trade places with you right now. And I was like, what do you mean by that? This person's making multiple millions of dollars. But what the reason I say that is because they're like, we have 50 employees. We're responsible to pay these people, and their kids' food that goes on their table is in our hands. And if we're not heads down, just hammering the next and best thing, like we're jeopardizing our lives, we're jeopardizing the families. So for me, a very, very, very unique part about my program and what I want to accomplish is that I'm actually the one teaching you. When you get on a call in my community, it's Brian. Like, I'm there. You have my cell phone number. It's a very small community, less than 150 people. It's manageable for me, but I don't have 50 sales call people. I am it. And it's designed that way for a purpose, because I've been in communities where I've been the hundredth page of a Zoom call. I'm this little tiny dot up in the corner up there, right? And I have a question about something, and I feel stupid asking, or I have to wait 3 weeks for the next group call. I took all the good and the bad out of all the programs I've ever been in, and I said, what was missing piece for Brian? And so I appreciated when someone said that. So, I mean, I would be lying if I said in the past 2 years I haven't thought I wanted to walk away from the fire department because of that. And it was like this epiphany moment when I was in Orlando with you, and I was like, why, Brian? I love my job. Why can't I do this too and just keep it at a level that's manageable for me? And I'm in charge now. So if I don't want to take on more clients and get busier, I don't have to. Obviously the money portion is enticing, but I make a good living and I have a good time with my family. So it was a pretty cool moment for me, because most of us will lie if you don't say, like, I'm jealous of that person doing that. But guess what? Sometimes the grass is not always greener. It's the grass is green where you water it, right? And so it's just it's a balance for me, and my students, I think, are benefiting from that smaller community. So
Yeah, I mean, as someone who has 60 employees, I could tell you that, I mean, now, thankfully, we've always been focused on having the best life for all of us, including ourselves now.
Mhm.
But there's no question that when you build, if you decide to go down a route like that, your level of responsibility extends a long, long way to them and their families and their parents and their kids, the cousin who's ill and needs it in, that needs the surgery and all that. And so, that's an inevitable byproduct of scaling to that level, which not everybody is ever going to want.
But the cool thing is, this is a compliment to you. You're very good at what you do. On the flip side, you are providing an amazing opportunity for the people that work for you and their families and stuff. So there's a little bit of both, right? Like, by me keeping it small, it's a little bit better for Brian. But by you continuing to grow your business, you're providing amazing jobs and opportunities for people. So like, I look up to you for that, right? I mean, it's a win on either side. It just depends on how you want to do it.
That's very true. Well, listen, I've loved this. I really enjoyed getting to know you in Orlando. It was a particular pleasure to be able to do that. That's one of the reasons I fly back and forth so often, is because there's no substitute to being in the room and actually talking to people. You can meet people on a Zoom call, but when you actually sit down and have dinner or shake their hand and be there, that's a completely different animal. And I really enjoyed meeting you in Orlando. Let's close this episode out by, I mean, I know you potentially, you're keeping your community relatively small, but how can people find your community? How can people find you? And how can people, benefit from what you can show them how to do?
Yeah. So before I give that information, I want to say one more thing, because I think it's relative to people, your listeners, my listeners. Everyone always asks me about how and why I invest in out-of-state rental properties, and it seems daunting and scary. But literally, I'm talking to one of the best tech guys in the world, which is Jordan Fleming, right? And so what he's created and what is out there tech-wise, it makes the world much smaller. Like, we're talking from across the world. So I'm really looking forward to using your AI agent for my property management stuff. Like, I cannot wait. So I appreciate you putting that stuff together. That's a big part of what makes my business successful, is the technology. And so anyway, I appreciate that. Keep crushing it. But for those who want to get into my space and my orbit, I love to work with you. I do one-on-ones with people, and then we do group calls. I have a whole school community. It's the Rental Property Playbook. That's free. But the best way, and I always laugh when I say this, but the best way is if you can endure a minute of my dumb social media, it's on all the socials. It's at Mr.Brian.Waters, BRIN.Waters, WATERS. And I want you to slide into my DMs. And what I'm going to do is, I had to say it just because I thought it'd be funny. But if you send me a message and just say, hey, I met you, or I heard from you on Jordan's podcast, it will be me. It's not an AI version of me. I will answer the text. I pride myself on that communication. I don't care if you have any questions about real estate. I love it. So that's the best way. So thank you so much, Jordan. You rock, man. I can't wait to see you. Hopefully in Nashville this coming year. I will be there, and let's break some bread together. And thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, Brian, it's been an absolute pleasure. Everybody listening, I will make sure that my team will make sure that all the links that Brian mentioned are posted in the descriptions. And I absolutely, go check it out. Genuine guy, genuinely interesting guy, and doing phenomenal work. So, Brian, thank you so much for joining me today, and have a fantastic rest of your day.
You too, sir. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to another amazing episode of That Real Estate Tech Guy. Head over to thatrealestatetechguy.com to check out all episodes and get special discounts on tons of awesome real estate technology platforms.